Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling one of the most incredible and dramatic stories in all of Hindu mythology. It's the birth of the god Krishna, and believe me, it has everything. A terrifying prophecy, a cruel king, and some seriously amazing divine intervention.
So, picture this. We're in the ancient city of Mathura, and it's being run by this absolutely tyrannical king, a guy named Kansa. I mean, this dude was so hungry for power, he actually usurped the throne from his own father. Yeah. So you can imagine, the people living under his rule, they were in constant fear.
Now here's the twist. For all his cruelty, Kansa had one soft spot, his sister, Devaki. He absolutely adored her. So on her wedding day, as he's personally escorting her and her new husband Vasudeva, everything seems fine. And then, bam! A voice from the heavens just booms down with a prophecy that's about to change everything. And I mean everything for all of them.
You know, that one single warning, it was like a lit match. It set off this whole chain reaction. We're talking imprisonment, unimaginable heartbreak, and ultimately, the birth of a child who is destined to bring an end to an entire age of darkness.
So you gotta ask, right? How does a prophecy completely turn a king against the one person he loves? Well, it all comes down to how Cassandra reacts. And this is just a classic story of a tyrant desperately trying to outrun his own fate.
And what's so fascinating about this part of the story is that it's not just a simple good versus evil thing. It's really about Kansa's tyranny clashing with his one and only weakness, his love for Devaki. Think about it. His first gut reaction when he hears the prophecy? To kill his sister right then and there. But her husband, Vasudeva, pleads for her life, and that, combined with Kansa's own complicated affection for her, is just enough to make him hesitate. So, to save his wife's life, Vasudeva makes this absolutely gut-wrenching deal. A terrible promise. He tells Kansa he will hand over every single child they ever have. Everyone. Kansa, thinking he's got this all under control, agrees. He spares his sister, but he immediately throws both of them into the deepest, darkest prison he has, just to make sure they can't back out. Well, Kansa's fear just spirals into full-blown paranoia. He's not going to wait around for the eighth kid, no way. So he does the unthinkable. One by one, as they are born, he murders their first 7 children. 7 innocent babies gone, in an act of just unspeakable cruelty.
And this brings us to this incredible moment, a moment of just absolute despair, but also divine hope. 7 children have been lost. Everything, and I mean everything, now rests on the 8th child. This is the story of that miraculous birth.
Okay, so on the night the 8th child is due, a massive storm just unleashes itself over Mathura. It's wild. And right at the stroke of midnight, the baby is born. And then, the god Vishnu himself appears right there in the cell with them. He gives them a plan, a way out. And you can just feel the divine power at work here. Because instantly, their chains just fall off. The guards all slump into a deep, magical sleep. And the heavy prison doors, they just swing open all by themselves. So Vasudeva, he puts the baby in a basket and just runs out into this raging storm. And as he's making his escape, get this, the great serpent, Sheshnag, this giant multi-headed cobra, literally rises up from the earth to act as an umbrella, shielding the baby from the rain. Then he gets to the Yamuna River, and it's a raging, overflowing torrent. It looks impossible. But then, the waters just part, creating a perfectly safe path for him to walk right across.
He makes it to the village of Gokul, and there, he swaps his son for the newborn daughter of the village chief. He races back to the prison, puts the baby girl in the cell, and the switch is complete. So when Kansa storms in to kill what he thinks is the 8th child, the baby girl slips right out of his grasp, rises into the air, and reveals herself to be a goddess. And before she vanishes, she gives him one last chilling warning. So, the baby Krishna is safe for now. He's hidden away from the evil king. But that just brings up the next big question, doesn't it? How on earth is a child, raised as a simple cowherd in a small village, ever going to grow up to fulfill a destiny to change the entire world?
Well, the answer to that question starts to take shape years later. And it begins with a brand new threat, one that comes from the very heart of Krishna's new home, a deadly serpent in the river.
So, years go by, Krishna grows up into this really beloved, kind of mischievous kid, but there is a shadow over his home. The Yamuna River, which is the lifeblood of the whole village, has been poisoned. And the culprit is Kaliya Nag, a huge, multi-headed serpent king whose venom is so toxic, it's killing villagers and their livestock. Then one day, Krishna is playing with his friends by the river,
And he does something that just makes everyone's heart stop. He takes their ball and he intentionally throws it right into the poison water. And as his friends are screaming, terrified, he just calmly says he's going in to get it back.
Yeah, see, this was no accident. This was a challenge. And it's what leads us to the biggest moment of his childhood and to his very first victory as a god. So Krishna climbs up this tall tree and he just leaps into the deadly river. Of course, this immediately brings out the enraged Kaliya Nag who attacks him. But this is the turning point. This little boy, he just effortlessly overpowers this massive ancient serpent. And then, in this just unbelievable display of divine grace and power, he starts to dance on the serpent's many heads. Beaten, humbled, the Serpent King has no choice but to surrender.
But this is where it gets really cool. Krishna doesn't just show off his power. He shows incredible wisdom. He actually solves two problems at once. First, for the villagers, he spares Kaliya's life, but banishes him from the river forever. But then, he solves Kaliya's problem too. See, the serpent was hiding that specific spot because he was terrified of his mortal enemy, the great eagle Garuda. So Krishna says, look, my footprints are now on your heads. They will protect you. Garuda will never harm you again. Just brilliant.
And so the villagers, who've been watching from the riverbank, probably thinking the absolute worst has happened, they witness a sight they will never forget. Young Krishna emerges from the water, totally unharmed, riding on the head of the now tamed Serpent King. He cleansed the river. He saved their home. He was a hero.
So we see him go from this prophesied baby, hidden away in a prison, to a proven protector of his people. These are the very first signs of his incredible divine purpose. And it really leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? When you think about a hero who is born to defeat evil, what truly defines them? Is it the power they have, or is it the mercy they choose to show?